Hi everyone. Today we are going to discuss about parallel journalism. So, what is parallel journalism? The word parallel and journalism. Yes. So, journalism can be parallel or alternative. It is other type of journalism which is not the mainstream journalism. So, can you imagine a parallel journalism for a mainstream journalism? Are you aware of that? Such a journalism? Or other type of journalism, can you think of one? Yes. So today we are going to discuss about the parallel journalism movements that happen in India and what is happening in our country. I mean, with the present scenario, do we have a parallel journalism mode? So we will discuss that in this particular session. So the first one is little magazine or small magazine movement. See, an Encyclopedia Britannica defines little magazine is any of various small, usually avant-garde, periodicals devoted to serious literary writings. The name signifies most of all a usually non-commercial manner of editing, managing and financing. So just imagine it's not the mainstream little magazine or the small magazine. Okay, as the name suggests, okay, it is something it probably it has a serious writing as the encyclopedia defines. Okay, so they were published from 1880 through much of the 20th century and flourished in the US and England through French and German writers also benefited from them. So that is actually the movement of small magazines or little magazines. So they gave importance to literature actually. Okay, and it provided a very good space for the marginalized. Of course, the marginalized people. We always say marginalized. Yes, the new and the uncommon, and that finally became the agenda of all small magazines, no matter where in the world they are published, to promote literature in a broad, all-encompassing sense of the word through poetry, short fiction, essays, book reviews, literary criticism, and biographical profiles and interviews of authors. So I told you this was actually a space provided for the marginalized, those who are not part of the mainstream media or the mainstream, the mainstream press. Okay, so little magazines heralded a change in literary sensibility and in the politics of literature taste. They also promoted alternative perspectives to politics, culture and society. If you take most of these writers, they have their own opinions, so obviously they will talk about literature, culture, politics, society and all. So that became a part of this this little magazine. So you can call it as a parallel journalism, because what journalists do, they disseminate news and information, their views and all that stuff via their newspaper or via their journal or whatever. But here, when even though you call even though they say they disseminate purely literature related stuff, these people are free minded, and so they always they include informations or their views about politics, culture and society in their writings. So that becomes, you can say that it is a parallel movement actually. Yes, and in the India, if you take in India, the beginning of little magazines found in the early 20th century, when many marginal content writers have started voicing their ideas in these non-commercial, non-mainstream journals and magazines. So again, I told you, marginalized people. The people didn't get chance to voice out in via a newspaper or a magazine or a journal. Okay, so they started, I mean, they liked this kind of movement. So you can see that these magazines are not, very, they don't have this kind of, very professional look or something, but the content is really good. Okay. The regional and vernacular writers found a new medium in these periodicals, like Dalit writing, especially Dalit poetry, has gained a lot of momentum via these small magazines, which were highly regional in nature, both the language and circulation. So again, so when you talk about like marginalization, the marginalized people, always, this Dalit people come to our mind. Why? Because we always say that they are marginalized, they don't get jobs in these publications. And so obviously they have, like, they got a space to actually voice out their opinion. So that was a little more little magazine movement in India. And it witnessed, witnessed in the pre-independent India. And this urged the common mass to come out and join in the pan India lineup. And the nurturing of Indian press was, integrally linked with little magazine movements, which day and night devoted their time to spread sedition against the oppressing British. See, these people never, considered the problems of the marginalized people. Okay, and it is considered as mass literary movement of literary magazines. Okay, so you can see that this most of these mainstream, magazines or newspapers, they gave importance to, to write, probably news about British people. Okay, and they generally, and this magazines, they generally published short stories, poetries, and essays together with literary criticism, book reviews, interviews, and letters. This movement had first made its instigation and then in the then society of 50s and 60s India, in several languages like Tamil, Marathi, Hindi, Malayalam, and Gujarati. And this movement had its root in Bengali literature. If you see that, like, most of our literature, cinema, everything actually originated from Bengal. So it had started with Kalat. I hope it is right, okay, the pronunciation. A modernist Bengali magazine launched in 1923. Several free-minded revolutionists like Kasi Nasrul Islam, Motilal Majumdar, Satyendranath Datta were part of this movement. And the post independent scenario in Bengal was one of the utmost disillusionment and hopelessness in every domain, in education and career. So the protests were marked by blood, curfews, and bombings. So, and this was the reason behind the birth of this youth literature in Bengali in the forms of little magazines. Okay, and Indian Sahitya Academy also associated with little magazine movement and its gradual popularity. And the academy published two literary journals, namely Indian Literature and Samakalin Bharatiya Sahitya. And today also there are many little magazines published every day, like, Sahitya Sedu, etc. And next important thing is Dalit journalism. As the name suggests, again, the marginalized people. Okay, so you can say that it's a parallel movement. So the period of 1920s till late 1940s saw an upsurge in nationalistic movement, and the period also saw a rise in anti-caste movements within the nationalistic movements. And the 1920s were radically transformative decade for the Dalit mass movements in India. And Dalit grievances, if you see, Dalit grievances were transforming into an effective political and organizational structure, thus shaping Dalit mass politics during the period. The rise of Dalit journalism is seen since 1920 as mainstream media refused to speak about the struggles of the oppressed. Okay, with Mahad agitation of 1927, a series of assertive and affirmative mass politics unfolded. The agitation was a visible example of how Dalits had been deprived from public spaces and perpetually subjected to the upper caste violence. And the aftermath of this Mahad agitation gave the demand of Dalits to be identified separately from the Hindus, because there was almost no social cohesion between them and the dominant Brahminical ideology. So the question of violence became central in the public spheres, as well as the need to have a mouthpiece to mobilize public opinions. And leaders like Dr. Ambedkar believed on newspapers to bring about a change in the lives of the oppressed classes. So that actually marked the beginning of Dalit journalism. And the leaders, they knew, okay, they knew the mainstream mass media would reflect traditional caste ideology, and hence there was a need to have a separate media altogether. Thus, the very first newspaper catering to the oppressed class was Moog Nayak on January 31st, 1920. It ran for 3 years, and in 1927, and then another newspaper was founded. So during this 1920s, Moog Nayak and Bahishkrit, the other newspaper I spread, no, Bahishkrit Bharat, took bold positions on several issues pertaining to religion, society, and politics. Okay, so this is just a copy of Moog Nayak. I got it from the, nets. And next, you can see that. And Mook Nayak and Bahishkrit Bharat were two Marathi journals edited by Dr. Ambedkar. Okay, the title Bahishkrit Bharat was proposed during a meeting held at Bombay, being presided by Dr. Ambedkar. The newspaper were a collective effort of propagating information and form of a mouthpiece. So it received funding from Dalit activists of Konkan and Bombay, who were participating in the Mahad agitations. Meanwhile, Dr. Ambedkar was involved in the writing the reports and commentaries and editorial. And next, you can see that these newspapers thus were very important in mobilizing the public opinion against the caste violence in the late 1920s. The important editorials written by Dr. Ambedkar were read, publicly in Dalit gatherings, and it helped mobilizing of Dalits in Western India. And in Behishkrit Bharat, the emphasis was laid on the incapability of Hindu society to realize basic, basic social norms and absence of social affinity within caste structure. So if you see that these newspaper actually, helped helped in helped in actually helped the marginalized people to to understand their rights, and the discrimination what they are facing during this time. Okay, and another important thing is Dalit, an example for a Dalit magazine. Okay, it's Dalit Voice. Okay, Dalit Voice. It was a political magazine published in Bangalore, India. The current title, I mean, the full title of this particular magazine is Dalit Voice, the voice of the persecuted nationalities denied human rights. Okay, and it appears fortnightly in both internet and print formats, and it was founded in 1981 by VT Rajashekar, a former journalist for the Indian Express, who was also its editor, and it was the largest circulated Dalit journal in India. The magazine and its website closed in 2011. That is the information I got from its website. Okay, it's no more there, but you can find the copies of Dalit Voice in archives. Okay, and the magazine actually acted as a sole spokesperson for the entire deprived people of India. Target audience were obviously Dalits in India. As I told you, it was the largest circulated daily, and it's just a copy of Dalit Voice and the VT, a photograph of VT Rajashekhar. Okay. And next is yellow journalism. Yellow journalism, I don't know whether we can call it a parallel movement, but it was there probably like with the mainstream, with the mainstream journalism. It was actually along with the name mainstream journalism. Okay, so I'm not sure whether we can call it a parallel journalism, but there was this just yellow journalism, just yellow papers were there, in the beginning. Okay, so now you can find this news along with your mainstream, because mostly, what is yellow journalism. Yellow journalism is mostly, mostly consists of gossip, scams, scandals, and all this sensationalized content. So even the mainstream media, they do prefer yellow journalism. Okay, I don't know. I don't have any comments, but yeah. So I just put it along with the parallel journalism because I wanted it to be a parallel movement, not along with the mainstream thing. Okay, whatever, we are celebrating this scandals and scams these days. Now we are behind, so many scandals. Even in this COVID season, our mainstream, media is bothered about the scams and scandals. I don't want to mention the names and all here. So they are more interested about these stuff than disseminating information related to COVID and related things. Okay. So I don't know where lies the journalistic ethics. We all studied journalistic, so those who studied journalism, they know that we had one entire paper called about journalistic ethics and all that stuff. Okay, yeah, whatever. Okay, so that is my personal opinion. Okay, yes. So again, yellow journalism, back to yellow journalism. So I'm not sure whether it is a parallel journalism now. You cannot call it a parallel journalism in the current scenario. Okay. uh, yeah, so it is a type of journalism that presents little or no legitimate, well-researched news. Yes, you don't research, you just write as whatever you hear. Okay, and it uses eye-catching headlines to sell more newspapers. Techniques may include exaggeration of the news events, scandal mongering, or sensationalization. Emerged at the end of 19th century when rival newspaper publishers William Randolph Hearst and Joseph Pulitzer competed for the sales in the coverage of events leading up to and during the Spanish American War, and this type of reporting that continues today, and it's also called tabloid journalism. So if you take if you want to sell your product more, I mean the newspaper more, now it's a business, right? So you can call it a product. There is no, I mean, I don't know whether, I think no problem. You can call it a product because it's a product. You're selling it, okay? You want advertisements. You want more readership. You want more circulation. So obviously, you are not thinking about the news value of it, but you are, trying to sell your newspaper, sell your channel. You want high TRP. Yes, and you are not worried about the news what you are disseminating, but you are worried about the TRP rating of your news channel. Yes. So I told you people are still continuing it. So you know what is sensationalization. And whatever comes to their mind, they just so most of these scandals and scams, so mostly we have this live reporting setup and all now. Earlier we didn't have that. So at least we did cross check, the journalists did cross check the information, whatever they disseminated. But now we don't have that. Whatever comes to their mind, they just they just communicate it to the public, whatever comes to their mind. Okay. And next is citizen journalism again. So you can call that a parallel journalism, I think, because it's with the arrival of this new technology, new media, and all. So the citizen as a journalist, even the news media, they have actually accepted that thing, because that's why we can see this participatory journalism, news, I mean, modules and programs in news channels and all. Okay. So the concept of citizen journalism, or public or participatory democratic guerrilla street journalism, so these are all other names of citizen journalism, is based upon public citizens playing an active role in the process of collecting, reporting, analyzing, and disseminating news and information. Citizen journalism refers to the reporting of news events by members of the public using the internet to spread the information. So that's why we have Twitter very popular. Why? You have authentic information from the public, but there are fake news as well. Okay, so I'm not talking about that, but usually, like, you get they are faster than our conventional media, right? Yes, conventional mass media, they are more, I mean, so when you have a news, you can post it in your Facebook or Twitter, so you become a citizen there, I mean, you become a journalist there. So that is the concept of citizen journalism. Okay. And it can be a simple reporting of facts and news that is largely ignored by a large media companies. That also you can do, especially I don't remember exactly the place, somewhere some quarry and all that recently appeared in social media. And I think in TikTok actually it appeared. And what happened after that, what happened after that, yes, then only these large newspaper organizations started showing news about that thing. So it happens here. So if you really want to get the media's attention, you can actually post it in your blog, or in your Twitter account, or something like that. Okay. So that is citizen journalism. So thank you so much. Hope you have got an idea about parallel journalism, and it is a very easy concept. So we have discussed about just four things. One is the Little Magazine movement. Second one is Dalit movement, Dalit journalism. Then the third one is yellow journalism, and the fourth one is citizen journalism. Okay. So thank you so much. Thank you.